Hello everyone, this is Brian. Alright, that was kind of fun making that crazy cinematic, but it took forever. So with this one, I'm just going to do it kind of quick, kind of stream of consciousness here. So these are the sats. I did a little extra finagling to get them, to a nice circular orbit here, nice and pretty and all that. So the deal is here is that I'm trying to get to other planets and to keep communications open with other planets. We still have a setup here. It's very two-dimensional. If I go over to, say, Eve, and all of those satellites are in line with MUN, for instance, then there will be times where MUN will block the signal. Not to mention trying to get all the way across the solar system to an object that's like behind the sun or something. So what I plan to do is to put two more large communication satellites into orbit on Molniya orbits. Molniya orbits are polar orbits that come very, very close on one side and they extend really far down on the other. So the satellite spends most of its time high or low of the plane of the solar system. That way it can shoot a signal all the way across, hopefully without any trouble. So let's get to it. Okay, so this is the satellites. I'm going to put two of these up, one north, one south. And you can see there's a lot going on here. So one dish here will be kind of permanently creating a link to Jool. The other one will be creating a link to the active vessel, presumably in deep space, because those can get pretty much outside of where this cone would be. And then we've got other dishes here, one for Duna, one for Eve, one each for MUN and Minmus. Two for the satellites that we already put up, the ones that are down in the equatorial geosynchronous orbit. And then solar panels, and then the whole trick here was how to get this thing all folded up nicely. And of course this doesn't look very good with all this stuff open. Well, you'll see this in a few minutes. Let's look at what the launch vehicle looks like. Okay, here we go. Here is the launcher. Looks quite different from what I have launched in the past. Basically, for the payload, I've got the satellite tucked up in here. It's about 2.5 meter wide fairing. I've got a nice small third stage here. This is just designed to push it into that Molniya orbit and then return. Got a larger second stage in here. And the second stage will push it from in the atmosphere, outside the atmosphere, and then circularized. And then that's a 3.75 meter. And then the last stage here, the booster, is a 5 meter booster, and this is designed to get it up to 30,000 meters or so, maybe 40 if I'm lucky, and then return, in the boost back style. So let's launch this thing. All right, here it is on the launch pad. Now, flight envelope for this is going to head about 358. Try and get as close as I can to a 90-degree inclined orbit. And first stage, the goal here is to get this thing going as fast as it possibly can, about at least 30 kilometers apoapsis, and I'd say at least twice the speed of sound. Fortunately, this one does not explode like the last one did if I exceed a couple of Gs. So at some point here early in the launch, I got to turn off my flight limiters, which I had set for the last time, and off we go. Okay, time to go through the staging. First thing I have to do is throttle back on the main engines. Stage. Activate the second stage engines and then very gently throttle up. And what is surely a YouTube first, I'll let live me comment on the left and post me comment on the right. Okay, So this is retrograde, but what I really want here is surface, heading 175, pitch 0, roll 0. What that will do, remember the planet surface is rotating here, so I don't want to go back south. I'll end up kind of on this hill. I need to go west about 5 degrees. Now, of course, in real life, I had to play these one after another. Only in post can I composite them together like this. So on the right, now you can get a look at the base of the second stage. I'm using a design that's probably going to become a feature in most of my rocket. I've got where the engine cluster is a narrower diameter than the rest of the fuel tank, and that is to accommodate the landing gear outside of it. And this is using the SpaceX fairing with SpaceX engines inside. Looks good. Boost until I see my prograde vector over here. This is the what NavHUD I think is what it's called mod. Prograde, where are you? Ah, there you are. Okay, check. That could be bad. Let's try and slow down. Oh, I still can. Looks like I overburned. And there we are. Okay, I'm going to save it here and go back to, this went retrograde. Wait, should I do the first stage? No, I should circularize it first. So I'll just coast on up. As soon as I exit the atmosphere, I'll deploy the solar panels and drop down the communications dish. And just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the antenna that is stuck inside here. I don't want to lose communication with this guy. Those noises are the RCS jets. I've got a mod there that does that. I'll thrust a little bit here. See if I can get that prograde over to the left a little bit. Okay, once I get down to denser atmosphere, I'll use a little bit of fuel to slow down if I have to, and then I will deploy my chutes. Alright, let's get the panels out. And the lower communications. Okay, everything's looking pretty good. I'm going to deploy my chutes. That antenna is not in a very good spot there. Hope it's okay. Set up a circularization node. Now it looks like this chute is attached to this procedural fairing part. Don't ever do that. It's actually attached underneath it to an SAS unit. Now when I do the circularization, what I'm going to do is pay attention to my periapsis height here. When this comes up to about 20,000 meters or so, then I'll jettison the fairing here. I want to keep that on as long as possible because that satellite is so, you know, kind of spongy, rubbery, bounces around a lot. It's only held on by a docking node, so it's kind of flimsy. Should probably cut these engines back a little bit. Alright, here we go. I saw that they could pull 8 Gs. That's hard to control with the throttle, so. Okay, let's kill the fairing while we're still have a in the atmosphere periaps. Looks like I have way too much monopropellant on this. I can cut that down a lot. Whoops, whoops, whoops. I went way too far. Alright, that's good enough though. Time to save it. And I'll come back to this right-hand screen here in a minute. Not too much going on there. Let's see how the booster landing goes. Nice and easy here. Uh-oh, I'm running out of fuel. Get down there. Ah, shoot. Oh well, it happens. Okay, well, just when you think you have a landing set, you screw it all up. Alright, so what we have to do now is separate this third stage and get it all set up here. So, looks like, is my antenna still attached here after that burn? Yes, it is. Okay, good. Double check that this antenna is on as well. It is on. Okay, I think we are ready. Turn off SAS. Save it. And let's separate. There we go. Okay, now for this one, I gotta set up the node. So we want to be right at the North Pole. This to be just under exit velocity. That's exit velocity right there. Nope, there we go. Now let's play with it a little bit here. There we go. Okay, it's 1 minute burn in 4 minutes. There we are. Okay, keeping up with electric charge, that's good. So this is going to take, gosh, days to get to its location here. Its orbital period is, well, time to apoapsis is 5 days, and its total period is 10 days. So it's going to be up there for a while. One thing I do need to do so I can maintain communication is turn on one of these dishes. So I think I'll actually unfold this right now after a ritual save. Okay. Go ahead and open up the solar panels and I can turn everything on. All right, now, let's see this one. Go ahead and set to CurbCom 1. That's the one that's over the KSC. Activate. This will be CurbCom 2. Activate. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Mun and Mimus. Activate. Now for the big boys. These actually have a cool animation here. So let's see, Jewel, activate. Look at that. All right, you are going to go towards active vessel, even though I don't need it for a long time. Okay, and then we need Duna and Eve. Duna, activate. Where's Eve? Eve, Eve, there you go. Eve, activate. So now if I look at my map, so now you can see I've got stuff pointed all over the place here. One to Eve, one to Duna, one to Jewel, and one to any interplanetary craft that goes out there. Okay, I'm gonna save it here. And now I'm going to fast forward this up to apoapsis and detach this stage. However, we can go back and land stage 2 now. Okay, let's see about getting this second stage down. What I like to do here is, I know from experience, I need about a 400 meters per second deorbit burn from an altitude of 70 to 75 kilometers. That gets me an angle that is steep enough to be accurate, but not so steep that this thing burns up. So there we go. Now I just need to adjust where I do this burn so that the X matches the green X there. And looks like I'm already too far ahead of my orbit, so I have to do a sharper deorbit. But I don't know, we'll take a risk here. It's going to do this manually. Don't need the node for that. In fact, the node will throw it off because then the trajectories mod places the red X where the node would be. I'm not flying the node anymore. I want that red X to be just past the landing zone, just slightly, which will give me a little bit of altitude there to pop my chutes and steepen my descent. Now I know I need to burn a little bit to the west here. Again, not using nodes. I just need to head that direction on the nav ball. There we go. Light it up, push that red X to the west. And that looks pretty good right there. All right, it's on target. Now I just need to point the ship retrograde and relax, and remember to pull in those solar panels. right, now that the second stage is landed, next step is to go back to the satellite, which has now been fast forwarded up to its apoapsis. I know I said 5 days earlier, but for some reason the mission time here is about 20 days, so it took longer than expected, but that is fine. And we're going to go on up here, detach the booster. The booster needs to stay close to the satellite on its way back down because it's the only way it can communicate back to the KSC. So after pointing one of the antennas on the main equatorial communication satellite up towards this satellite, I have two-way radio communications. The booster has only a short-range antenna on it, so it is communicating to this satellite and then from there back down to the KSC, and that's how I'm maintaining control over it. Come on, I need Kerbin. Okay, well, I'm going to do this kind of on the fly here. I'm pointing retro. There we go, periapsis 21, which is way too low. Let's flip this around to prograde. Okay, that'll have to do for this pass. That'll get me down, well, way down, but not far enough. So I didn't record the first pass, but I have the second and third passes here for you. 2 trips through the atmosphere, then raising up the periaps, then lowering of the apoapsis, and doing the maneuvers for landing.
Yeah, it's mine.
I'm not running in career mode, but imagine how nice it would be to recover all these guys like this. Yeah. All right. Have a good night. I'm going to launch another one of those off screen. Not going to bother to record it since it will be pretty much identical to this one. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, fly with confidence.